or if you yourself have almost ended your life, tell us about what changed. I recently had one of my best friends end his life when he went to college. I really do think about him every day. He affected everyone in our hometown. I'm not saying it just to say it, he was truly the person that got along with everyone. The only person I knew that had everyone's sense of humor, no matter the person. I looked up to him, and my brother, who was also very close with him, always concurred with me when he would come up in conversation and one of us would say that we could see him being famous, or being the president. When his college friends found him, he was unconscious but he still had a pulse. He was airlifted from his campus to the hospital and we were told he was in a coma due to the amount of oxygen he lost after hanging himself. He never woke up from his coma. But the doctors told us he could hear us, something in his brain was being monitored and it responded to his mother talking to him. All of his closest friends got together on his final night before the parents would sign off to having him taken off life support. It didn't feel real. We were 10 hours away, but we were lucky to have been able to FaceTime his mother as she put the phone up to his ear, and we all say our goodbyes. My heart sank when it was my turn. I hadn't planned on doing that for another 60 years. I had to say goodbye to one of my closest friends on FaceTime. No one should ever have to do that. After the call ended, we all just sat in silence. I got a text the next day from my friend, who is very close with the mother of my friend who passed. She wanted to tell us all that as we were saying our goodbyes, a tear went down his face and she couldn't get the words out to tell us on the call. Something from a movie, right? I like to believe that he knew how much we loved him when he passed. It's still so surreal even to think about it. It truly can be anyone, even if that person brings a smile to everyone else's face. Please, I beg you to look out for the people around you. The pain still won't stop. I still think about him every day. I'll never stop thinking about him. When I turn 18, I will get a tattoo in memory of him. But for right now, I do this thing where I write down a memory I shared with him every time I think of a new one. I have a little journal with his name on it. A lot of the time it's memories that only the two of us shared, but since he's gone I must write them down and keep them alive. Memories fade, but not when they're written down. Please be good to each other. This will get buried, but until just recently my major depressive disorder was in remission. Something happened about 2 months ago that turned my life upside down, and as a result, I've recently been struggling with suicidal thoughts. They've been escalating, inch by inch. I read through maybe 30 responses on this thread and am nearly in tears at my desk. I needed to be reminded that I am not alone and that the metaphorical demon that is depression haunts so many people on this earth. I cannot give up or give in. I needed this today to motivate me to stay the course. I beat this once, I can do it again. One of my favorite quotes is by Winston Churchill. When you're going through hell, keep going. Thank you to everyone contributing to this thread. I attempted suicide by overdose when I was a junior in high school. I'm about 22 now, so it's been 6 years. I took in the whole 100-count bottle of acetaminophen and I said some off things, my goodbyes, to my friends, and they noticed and rushed over at midnight to tell my parents something was very wrong and called the ambulance. I wouldn't fess up to what I did, but they knew from my eyes that I wasn't okay either, so they took me to the hospital and made me ingest the absolutely horrifying liquid charcoal. I threw it up all over myself in the middle of the night, but when I woke up at one point I saw my mom turned over praying and crying, and I'll never forget it. The other sight that stops me from it all now is my dad crying when they checked me into the ward. In all of my life I had never seen him cry except for that one day. People out there love you. Even if you don't have family that supports you, friends are there. Around 2 years after that I got pet bunnies and I loved them to death. I can't imagine leaving my pets behind, and when I get emotionally distressed I go over and pet them in silence, and it helps me calm down a little more and straighten myself out. It's hard, but it's something. Therapy helped me and my family open up to each other about things that I kept in that caused me to go over the edge. Now, Especially being someone who knows firsthand what the dark void feels like, I push to help my friends around me if I feel like they're going through the same thing. I've had 2 attempts in the last 2 years. My life right now is actually going pretty well. It just sucks that all these people keep killing themselves. It makes me worried about my future. Am I going to hold on until I'm 35 then put a bullet through my head? Am I going to drown myself at 42? I've been struggling with wanting to die for 15 years. I'm medicated. I completed a program recently. I dunno, man. Maybe it's not worth it. I have a good partner right now and a good support system though. I was honest with my girlfriend this morning about how this has all made me feel. We're getting pizza and driving into the mountains or maybe the forest tonight to reconnect with nature. I tend to find peace after that. Today's rough. Edit, the thing that got me recently was talking to my roommate/best friend about my mental health the last couple years. She's usually stoic. We work for the same company and she's known as the Scrooge, with a secret soft heart. She looked at me and said, "The thing is, if you had been successful, I know that 10 years from now, I'd be sitting in like a Denny's or something sitting across from, other friend, and I'd be smiling. But then, I'd still look at an empty chair and wonder if you'd be there with me," and she cried so deeply. I'm tearing up now just thinking about it. Gah. I have that suicidal ideation. I feel it deeply, and often, and I can honestly and openly say that I wish I wasn't alive most of the time. I also feel that reaching out and getting help will only lead to more debt, which will exaggerate a lot of my problems. I foresee that debt in the form of paying for a service to try and make me feel better, or even the cost of depression medication. Then God only knows what side effects would come with that, etc. I feel trapped most of the time. I owe more than my salary in student loans, which means I'll likely never be able to marry or own a home or really make any decision at all that is bigger than buying a video game or 2. I also can't even imagine a job exists that wouldn't be a total chore to get myself to. I work mid-level IT and make nearly $60,000, so technically I have it better than most. I don't mind what I do, but I'll never be excited to do it. Then I spend my evenings anxious as fuck because my life is basically making sure others can access the internet, or intranet resources, or whatever. I don't own myself. I couldn't choose to walk away without putting myself in a worse situation. I'm literally a hamster in a wheel and there's no way to break that loop. I want to die. I am severely autistic, a child abuse survivor, and have lost 6 schoolmates, 1 churchmate, and 1 friend to suicide. As long as I can remember, I've longed to leave, disappear or not be. I've thought a lot about suicide as an option, but it doesn't seem to be an option I'm cognitively capable of pursuing seriously, no matter how badly I might want to. But almost every day, I see someone on /r/Asperger's who has pursued every option they can find, and who sees no other option left. I've been there numerous times, and only my cognitive impairments in prioritization and understanding past, present and future correctly have left me alive long enough to find some other answer by accident. The mental health system isn't set up to deal with autistics. Frequently seeking help is dangerous or makes things worse with misdiagnosis, mismedication, and therapies that might work wonderfully for someone else. If anyone ever needs to talk, but especially anyone suspecting they're on the spectrum, I will listen. Less than 3. My best friend killed herself in 2009 by walking into the Baltic Sea one morning in midwinter. It is nearly 10 years, but I think of her every day and how I didn't do enough to save her. It is cliché to say, but she was too sweet for this world, too sensitive and too childlike. I am often very angry at her for leaving for me, but sometimes I feel jealous she had the balls to do it, as I struggle with my own feelings of suicide. I attempted suicide when I was 16. I was depressed and untreated because mental illness just wasn't something that was recognized in my family. I cut my wrists and held them underwater. The only thing that stopped me was the thought that my 5-year-old niece would be the one to find me. I didn't want that. So I bandaged up, cleaned up, and went to lay down to re-evaluate my life. Probably should have had stitches, but I wasn't ready to admit I had problems. I'm 26 now. I still struggle with my depression. I was medicated for a while, but I hated the side effects. I'm happily married, bought a house this year, and have a wonderful goddaughter who is an absolute ray of sunshine in my life. So the depression is there, but the suicidal thoughts aren't. Anytime it even crosses my mind randomly, I remind myself why I'm still here. But my life is important to me. I want to live to enjoy the good times and fight through the bad. I will survive. Please, anyone that reads this, if you need help, get help. Your life is worth it. There's a lot of love and support out there if you need it.